Mike, check. Justin Hunt. It's all happening. Thank you to everybody subscribed to the channel. Thank you to everyone who shared a video or spread the good word, letting people know what we're doing over here. It's appreciated. Big thank you to everyone who's donated. If you'd like to donate and help support us, you can donate through the Cash App up there or the link tree. Big shout out to Deborah Sloan. Thank you for your donation, Deborah. And big shout out to all my new members. All the new members who have become members and joined. Big thank you to Kenyatta5TTC on John, SOENTRC5X5, Oko K, Part-Time Nerd, Sani Bonani, Samaj Troop, 9-second applause. Thank you. We got 195 members now. We're almost at 200 members. I feel like a week ago, we just crossed 100. So we're almost at 200 members. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Fun stories today. I think they're fun. Personally, I think they're fun stories today. We're going to start with this Kendrick Lamar theory. I love these theory pieces. As you know. And this one, I believe this is NFR podcast. This isn't where the clip came from. But they're talking about the connection between Kendrick Lamar's albums. So let's take a look.
I'm not sure if you ever noticed this, but there's actually a connection between each and every single Kendrick Lamar album, and it's that they each represent a different media format. So let's start off with Section 80. This is actually a novel. If you pay attention to songs like Chapter 6 and 10, if you pay attention to the narrator, the way that it starts off the album with everyone telling personal stories, it feels like a book and a novel.
Feels like a book and a novel. It does. I haven't listened to Section 80 in a minute. I need to go back to that. Album and give it another run through. I loved that album when it dropped. And my introduction to Kendrick Lamar was Overly Dedicated. That was the first album. Big shout out to my boy Run P, DJ Run P. He was singing the praises of that album. He was the first person I knew in my life who was like, Kendrick Lamar's next. And, so I was intro to Kendrick on Section 80, then I went back and checked everything else. Rigor mortis, man. Rigor mortis is so crazy. Hole Up is so crazy, but rigor mortis really was when I was like, oh, this guy's a problem. Rigor mortis is nuts. And then Blow My High. Those were my joints off of that album. I never reviewed Section 80. I never wrote a review for it, but it was in heavy rotation. And at that time, it was right before Section 80 dropped. I worked at Brooklyn Bodega. I was the host of Brooklyn Bodega Radio. Brooklyn Bodega put on the Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival. Shout out to Wes Jackson, DJ Run P, Kelly Nicole, John Heredia, Ray, everybody on that team. We put on the Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival, and Kendrick Lamar performed. And the headliner was Q-Tip and Friends. And he brought Kanye out that year. It was a big day, but that's the first, and truthfully, the only time. That's the only time I ever interviewed Kendrick Lamar was at the Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival. And that was, if you want to see a clip from that interview, it's in the Kendrick Lamar GOAT piece that I did for Hip Hop DX. But Section 80, yeah, I definitely agree. It does feel like a book. It feels like a novel when you go back to it.
Then you go on to GKMC. It's obviously a movie, a short film by Kendrick Lamar on the title. Not only that, but if you pay attention to the track list and even all the skits, extremely cinematic. You can listen to it in different orders. It feels like a movie.
Good Kid, Mad City. That was, at the time, I wrote the review for that for Hip Hop DX. And where was I? Was I in Bahamas? I think I was in Bahamas when I got that assignment. I was still freelancing then. And that was the biggest review at the time in the history of the publication. I've talked about this in the video on this channel called Good Kid, Mad Classic. But I wrote that review, and it does feel like a movie. It reminds me of Boys in the Hood. I make that reference a lot. Like Good Kid, Mad City really does feel like Boys in the Hood. And just the impact that album had, I don't know if anyone, it hit like a crater. It hit like a comet hitting on the earth, you know what I mean? Just a fantastic project from front to back. I think we all agree on that. Money Trees that song is going to be around forever. I think if you look at Kendrick's top songs on Apple Music, I tend to listen to Apple Music more than anything. Money Trees is like in the top 5 or 6. You know, I'm not even sure if that was if they could have predicted that to be one of the breakout songs. And I truly look at that song as a testament to streaming and how people can find different songs in a very easy format. Because, you had Swimming Pools Drank on that album. You had Poetic Justice on that album. Love that song too. I love what both Drake and Kendrick did on that album, on that song. Backseat Freestyle, which is crazy. And then you have Money Trees and Mad City. I love Mad City too. That one feels so LA. It's got MC8 on it. I all the way hoped MC8 would come out of the pop out. He wasn't there, but that would have been an epic moment if he had done that. But this album does feel like a movie. Even now when I listen to it, it still feels like a movie. It feels like Boys in the Hood.
Then, To Pimp a Butterfly is actually a poem and is poetry, because if you go through the track list, there's a poem to Tupac that's instilled within the writing of the album. That
one does feel like a poem. And I did the review for that for Hip Hop DX2. That's really the only album I've given a perfect score to. The editor at the time was Andre Grant, and I was flying to South by Southwest, and I was so rushed trying to put that review together. And I was at a 4.5, and I hit up Andre. I was like, "Yo, man, I'm at a 4.5 or 5. What do you think?" He was like, "Give it a 5." So I was like, "Okay, cool." So fortunately, that score has held up. But that album with the Tupac poem running through it does feel like it is a poem. What's my joint on there? My joint on there is, I think it's called You. I can't remember the name of it, but it's the one with Snoop Dogg. I always thought this story was so imaginative because the first verse is Kendrick, talking from the perspective of being an artist, but yet still having people around him who weren't as successful or still tied to the streets in a different way. And going to the BET Awards, and Kendrick is like trying to make sure everybody doesn't mess with any of the celebrities in town that came in for the BET Awards. And then the second verse is from the perspective of one of the homies. And he's like, what's he say? He says, "Now I can watch that watch on TV and be okay, but it's another thing when that watch lands in LA. They say, you rob from the rich and give to the poor. Well, that's me at the awards." I guess that's why my grandma warned the boy. I think he says, "Shit don't change till you get up and wash your ass, nigga." Oh yeah, I love that joint so much. 1 second applause. But yeah, this album definitely feels like a poem. So I'm in line with this. I'm not mad at this theory at all so far. I'm not mad at it at all. Let's see where it goes.
And you go on to Damn, that's a magazine. If you pay attention to the font on the top of Damn, it replicates the same font as Time magazine. And if you pay attention to every single song, it's formatted like a headline.
Now, I love Damn. Damn is my favorite Kendrick album. It's an easy choice for me. They're all phenomenal. His catalog is crazy. He has a, early Kanye. I mean, I guess mostly Kanye. Generally speaking, I don't think Kanye's missed too many times. I think in general, when someone remains as prolific as he has always been and you extrapolate over time, people will connect with different things in different ways. I'm not a fan of Vultures 2. I have not gone back to that album. But generally speaking, Kanye and Outkast, arguably Tupac, even though I feel like early Tupac just sonically hasn't aged the same. But I think of them as having the tightest catalogs for me, in my opinion. And Outkast is up there. And so is this Kendrick. So, with Kendrick's catalog to me, with what he's released so far, every album can either be his best album or his worst album, depending on the listener. I see people who are just like, Section 80 is his best. Good Kid, Mad City is his best. To Pimp a Butterfly is his best. Damn's his best. So Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, less people. So generally speaking, every Kendrick album could either be his best or arguably second worst. And that's just a testament to the strength of his catalog. But Damn, to me, I love. I never did a review on that one, but I love Damn so much. And to me, it's his least referential album. I love Feel. I feel like the whole world want me to pray for him, but who praying for me? Who the F is praying for me? That always hits me. Yeah. Radar is buzzing. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's just a very poetic listen. And most people I talk to are not a fan of this song, but I love it. God. I just think it's like, it feels like a serious song, but it's very playfully done in a weird way. Generally speaking, I always connect with what Kendrick is talking about. So the conversation is something that's endeared to me. And then XXX to me is such a pivotal song. Probably the second video I ever did on this channel is called Millennials, Hardest Generation Alive. And I based that argument about the millennial generation and the challenges and potholes and pitfalls we've experienced to this song, to the conversation that Kendrick is having on this song, XXX. So check out that video if you missed it. I was very proud of that piece when I wrote it. And also, that piece itself is the prototype for what I always wanted this channel to be, life through the lens of hip hop. But Damn that's my personal favorite Kendrick Lamar album. He's in line so far. It does look like a magazine. And I think that plays into the forwards and backwards approach of that album as well, right? Like a magazine, you can just sort of skip to any point and it kind of works. So it's just really well done. Still really well done.
Then, if you go on to Miss Morale and the Big Steppers, it's actually a theater play. If you go into the album, you see that there's different acts, and within the narration, Whitney actually admits that, hey, we're going into Act 2 now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with that. I like this. I like this theory. I'm not sure if it's a theory. I think maybe there's so many people who spend so much time analyzing the nuances of all these albums. I mean, Dissect Podcast probably has made allusions to this in a video. I really appreciate this video because it has it succinctly in one place. But Mr. Morale does feel like a theater play too. And especially when I consider, the tap dancing device that comes back and forth. I always think about tap dancing when I think about theater plays. And so from that approach, I see where they're coming from, and I really like this. I like this theory. Let me know what you guys think of it. The question does beg, what will his next project be? Will he continue to express himself musically using different media formats as part of the presentation? My name is Justin Hunt. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow @TheCompanyMan on everything. It's all happening.
Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. The mathematical breakdown of this mighty game of rap we in. It's boom bapping. Systematical culture views us radical, it's all happening. Shaking hands and dapping it. Life through the lens of hip hop, from trip hop to yes, y'all, you don't stop, you don't stop. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening.